Hey everyone, National Master Sean Lei here. In today's chess video, I'll be showing you why opening preparation is so important using two reasons, using one of my own games as an example. All of that is coming straight up. Alright. So, the importance of opening preparation comes in two parts. The first part is since you know the opening better than your opponent, and your opponent often doesn't know the opening as well as you if you master it and you play the own opening religiously, like I do the Philidor and the Kali Zuckertort and openings like that, well, you're going to have a huge time advantage at the beginning. If you guys have seen my previous speedrun videos, you guys have probably seen that I don't use much time in the opening, especially in the openings that I play very often. Now, why is that the case? Because I know with 100% accuracy that I'm playing well. I know I'm playing the best move in every position. And because I know all of this, I know that I don't need to spend that much time. And your opponent, on the other hand, he's like, oh, this opening is weird. I haven't seen this one before. I don't know what's the best move. Especially if they don't have a system against the opening you're playing. They can often be left in like a troublesome position where they're like, oh, I gotta spend like 10 minutes here, 20 minutes here, 30 minutes here, just to making sure that they got the right move. And this can lead to a psychological effect in which you're like, oh, maybe I played the wrong move 10 moves ago. Maybe I played the wrong move here. Maybe my position is bad. And this self-doubt can eat at you as a player. The second reason is the reason what I'm going to be showing you today. And this is the reason as you know variations and you know opening ideas that your opponent doesn't know, right? And so because of this, your opponent can get into a lot of trouble early on, especially if they see a move that they think is good by principle, but is bad in that specific position. And of course, this comes in the position that I've actually shown you guys already. In one of my Philidor series, you should check it out, by the way, if you guys want to learn the Philidor. It's a seriously underrated opening. It's super duper strong. And so, this is what happened in the game. I played d6, my opponent played d4. My opponent's rating is 2150 rated. He's not the strongest of opponents, but he's still pretty strong, especially for most people. And so after pawn d4, I play knight f6, knight c3, all very simple Philidor stuff. e5, my opponent moves the bishop, I move the bishop. And in this position, my opponent thinks. And this isn't the first time I've seen a couple of my opponents think. And they think to themselves, should I take on f7? It looks good, right? Because after you took on f7, king captures knight g5 check, king has to go to g8, because if it goes to e8, knight here traps the queen, and king f8 leads to a fork of the king and the queen together, and that's no bueno, that's no good. Don't want that to happen. And so when he plays knight e6 anyways, because my light scores are so weak in this position, after queen e8, knight takes c7, well, all of a sudden, he's up 4 points, 10 moves into the game. And so, to the unwary person, to the person who doesn't know this opening, you might be already thinking, well, black messed up. I mean, it's over. But this position is actually already slightly better for black, but my opponent doesn't know. But he soon comes to realize, after I take on g2 extremely fast, and right now I'm playing the opening so fast, and my opponent's probably having some doubts in his mind, especially because my rating is quite high. I have a National Master title as well. I probably won't blunder very early. And so he becomes having doubts, and he starts thinking in this position, and he thinks, huh, are there any tricks here? And it doesn't look like there's any tricks, because rook f1, and what happens here? The position looks so bad for black. The rook on h8 is bad, the king is bad. Black's pieces don't look like they're very active. But everything basically falls apart after the very next move black plays, which is pawn takes this pawn on d4. And now white's in some trouble, and because I'm playing so fast, he's like thinking to himself, oh, is this a loss for me? Doesn't look bad. And so he starts calculating, he starts thinking, he's spending a lot of time here, which means he's not going to have this time, especially if it comes to a critical position in the future. Do you move the knight here? If you move the knights, well, I can take on e4s, and if you don't do anything, well, I'm going to take your knight. So in this position, he takes on d4 immediately, and I play knight e5 immediately. Again, at this point, I used less than like 30 seconds on the clock. All of this is in that Philidor video I've shown you guys in the past. And I want you guys to think now. I want you to assume you're playing on the white side. Take 5 minutes, take 10 minutes. In fact, if you guys need, take as long as you need. Pause your video, come back when you think you've figured out a move. What move do you think is the best move in this position for white? These positions are super hard for people to calculate, even at the highest levels, because there's so many pieces doing so many things. Obviously, knight f3 is a huge threat. You're going to win the queen. But there's another threat as well here. It's not the only threat in this position. You need to figure all these things out. And so there's only one move here, by the way, that doesn't immediately explode in this position. Hopefully you guys are able to figure it out. And hopefully you guys came back. And the move is f4. So if you came up with f4, sorry, not f4. The move is f3. If you came up with f3, good job. Now, f4 is not good, even though it looks good, because knight g5 and knight g4. In fact, f3 also is met with knight g4. Both moves are met with knight g4. And this move is like one of those grandmaster looking moves, right? Especially if you're not sure of this opening, your opponent pulls this one on you, you're probably like, oh my gosh, what is this? What is happening? And so after this knight g4 move, Black has a pretty equal position, slightly better for him still. But here my opponent thought for a long time, and he came up with queen takes a7. On the surface, looks pretty good. Defends against knight f3 check. But it doesn't take into account the two other threats I have here. And there's two moves here that win on the spot. I decided to go for the simpler one. But the other move that is fine is knight f3 check, just playing bishop g4, saying, hey, I'm going to move my knight, and you're going to lose. I decided to go for the simpler one, though. I see that the rook is trapped, so I just play bishop a3. Your rook is trapped. What are you going to do? And so, after one more move, my opponent resigned. After he checked, after two more moves, he played bishop e3. I check here, and he resigned. And the reason why is because after he played king d2, knight c4 is checkmate, and so is knight to f3. And so, in this game, I used like less than 30 seconds, I believe, in the entire game. And the reason why? I knew it better than my opponent. This is what opening preparation can do for you. You get a huge advantage in the opening. Opponent runs out of time. He's worried. He doesn't know what's happening. And the best thing is, you might leave an emotional scar for the next time you play him. Because he's like, oh my gosh, he's the player that plays that weird opening that I don't know how to counter. And so if you guys want to see a series in which I show you guys all these high rated opponents that I beat in the opening, like sub 20 moves because of my opening preparation, I can happily do that for you guys. And regardless, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Hopefully it was instructional. If you guys like, you guys can hopefully like and subscribe to the channel. It'll help the channel a lot. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye everyone.